Hello there, I'm Artistic Gamer 7, and I'm here with another vlog. This one's maybe a little bit on the shorter side, but it's sort of ideas that I've had floating in my head that I would sort of like to see maybe future Zelda games look into or take like a maybe spin on and such. I definitely one of the things, like, I know like there's the book of like Historia, but I think there would be like the way that they follow a certain path. I feel like it would be interesting if there was like one game that actually maybe referenced the path that that like journey that particular Link, like his ancestors have gone through and stuff like that. Like I know like Skyward Sword starts it, and like it can technically take off Ventures in Past, but like when telling of like ancient tales or whatever actually reference the line of games. Like I know there's like technically little references in a lot of the Zeldas to previous Zeldas, but I would like one that was like almost obvious about it and stuff like that, and talk about like maybe reference like, oh, there was like a time and when the world went all Twilight or something like that. Twilight Princess is like my favorite one. So, um, uh, be more obvious about it and stuff like that. But, and some people are probably like, "Why? That doesn't really matter." And none of these things like I would be like super upset if they never happen. It's just things that I would think would be cool in some degrees. So, yeah, and almost be like people talking about all the different things like, oh, this is a reoccurrence. These things happen. Like there's recordings of like this and stuff. Um, so that would be interesting. With the layout of a lot of the land, it would, I don't know if that would maybe cause an issue, but I feel like if it is like several years in between, like several like decades or even centuries in between these stories that are supposed to be happening, the land definitely would have changed from previous times. Or even if there was maybe even one that didn't happen so long after the other one, maybe even that Link that did that storyline or whatever, um, who knows, maybe is an elder or just passed away and now like their child or whatever has to take on almost the same role. Of course, you know, then it wouldn't be probably called Link unless it was like Link Jr. But, you know, hey, that would also be sort of cool in opinion, so that way the land wouldn't be as changed, but it would still be a different adventure because the um whatever is happening probably would not be the exact same, or that particular person wouldn't go through it the same way as like their father or their grandfather would have done. Um, so that would be another interesting thing that I think would be a cool take on Zelda. Another thing that I think would be really cool, maybe this is especially because I am a female, but because like it's not totally led to believe in a lot of the games. Skyward Sword definitely like obviously said that like basically Link and Zelda got together, but in a lot of them it's not very obvious, and to some degrees it almost seems like maybe it didn't happen. I always say it happened because Link and Zelda will always be together in my opinion. So, but you know, when you're thinking about it, if it is like an ancestry thing and like so many centuries ago, like your great 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 grandfather maybe done this, um, or maybe like it's so far ancestry that you don't even know that it's an ancestor anymore, which of course the 20 times great grandfather probably wouldn't know about them anymore. But anyway, um, you would think that if Link had kids, whether it was with Zelda or not, that he wouldn't always be having a son, and his kids wouldn't always be having a son. And the chances of it always only being one kid is, and just being the son, is very rare. And considering that the chances of having a daughter versus a son is greater, like scientifically speaking, I would like to see like, not a lot of people said like Linkle Is that how you pronounce it? Like the girl version of Link? That would be cool too. But I personally would like to see where the roles have reversed in some sort of way, where like somehow Link's ancestry line has stayed inside the castle, and he's sort of like the ruler or whatever, like the prince, and Zelda's line, like who is now the Zelda ancestry, has led back out into somewhere off in Hyrule, and she's the one who's doing the saving and the venturing. I would love a game where you get to play solely as Zelda herself. It would also be, a lot of people would stop maybe calling Link Zelda, because that annoys the crap out of me. Because technically Link is the main character you play, and I guess they assume since that's the main character you play in the game's called Legend of Zelda, they just automatically assume that's Zelda. No, it's not Zelda. But anyway, I would definitely like to be able to play as Zelda. I would prefer to play as her, almost as in the role of what Link would be doing, but maybe even the alternate take of like she still is the princess, but maybe playing her side of the story, like her trying to help Link in some sort of way, or trying to help from within the castle or something like that, would be cool too. The only thing with that, I feel like you couldn't do a full-fledged game, like Zelda game, because the fact that Link literally goes all over the place and from like dungeon to dungeon, and in Breath of the Wild you literally can go anywhere. So I feel like you wouldn't have as many options unless you did it sort of like the Zelda in Skyward Sword, where she actually did move around. So I mean, it's possible, but with most typical Zelda story, like the line Zelda plays, she stays in mainly the same area. She may be moving around, but it's usually the same area. So I feel like with that side of things, you maybe couldn't do as much with. But I personally would like to play Zelda as the one who's from outside the castle and trying to go save Link. That would be an interesting spin on the story, I feel. And I feel like if it literally is like stories down the line and these history ends up repeating itself, I feel like it wouldn't always be Link. Like, it wouldn't always be a guy. I feel like at least one of these stories should end up with Link's descendants being a girl. So, just say. But you know, hey, who knows? I've heard rumors that there's already another Zelda in the make. The fact that I still haven't fully explored Breath of the Wild baffles me, because usually I have a Zelda game beat way before they even talk about a new Zelda game maybe even being talked about in the works. So it's sort of baffling to me, but who knows what they're going to do with that one. Be interesting to see what they are doing with that one. But the last thing that I have thought of, and I don't know, maybe some people, because the way Legend of Zelda is known for so long, and honestly, maybe once even I got to start playing it, maybe I don't know how I would feel about it, just because Zelda's been always set in this more castle, mountainous, out in like the more wild, more villagey type setting. Maybe once I actually started playing a game, if there ever did come a Zelda like this, maybe I wouldn't end up liking it because it would be so different. But just sort of thinking the potential maybe it could be is interesting. But I'm thinking, like, since there is like a storyline and eventually it does keep going further and further, and like I said, Skyward Sword, I can't even remember exactly all the path lines and like the order it is. But since like Skyward Sword is like the first story, and then it goes from there and stuff and falls down, then and I don't even know where Breath of the Wild, like, have they even officially said where Breath of the Wild fits in the timeline? I'm not even sure. I feel like I need to look that up. Really do. But anyway, as of right now, I don't know where it fits in the timeline. I will say with Breath of the Wild, it seems like it has more of a technology spin onto it than usual with the Guardians and sort of the way the tablet thing works, the Sheikah Slate, and the towers and all that. So it sort of has that technology feel sort of adding into it. But I think seeing a Zelda that's closer to modern era and seeing how that type of story would play out in that type of setting. Because I feel like, in my opinion, how it would possibly be like was be like, because technology and like all this stuff has come so far away, people start forgetting about the stories of the past, stories of old, and start saying, oh, well, those are just legends, those are just myths, those never happened, those wasn't real, whatever. Like, people having that attitude and like, oh, nothing like that would ever happen. Because I feel like in the modern era, like, a lot of people have, maybe it's just where I'm from, but I feel like a lot of people's creativity and imaginative, like, imaginative? imagination is not as big and is not as broad as, like, some of my friends and stuff and like that. And, like, I feel like a lot of people are instantly like, no, that can't be real. That can't be, that can't happen. That never happened. Like, I feel like people are easy to doubt things anymore than to believe that there's a chance of that being true. So I feel like if it was a modern, like, they would be like, that's not real. That never happened. And then when Ganon or whatever it would be actually comes back after all this time, everyone's panicking, no one knows what to do, and I feel like it would be sort of strange, but it may be interesting. I feel like it could take an interesting turn, but like I said, Zelda's been so much more of the villagey past type feel. I don't know how I'd feel like a modern one. I definitely wouldn't want to go like so modern that it's like how we are nowadays, but like sort of adding more of that touch modern. Like, it's a lot of things have come a long way, and to the point where like that fantasy imagination and stuff like that has gone. But then all of a sudden it takes this turn and everyone now doesn't know what to do and it's all in chaos. So, and also it'd sort of be interesting to think of how they would do the whole Zelda as a princess thing. Like, how would they do that? And like, I know technically in like England and stuff like that they're still royalty, but it's not as the thing as it was in the past. It's not like as big of a thing or as much of a thing as it was in the past. So, if you get what I'm saying. But it would be interesting how they do that and such, and how they would still incorporate some of the key things, like the Master Sword. Like, where would you go find it? How would you do it? In a time where, like, more things that are, like, guns and less physical weapons are more popular and stuff like that, I would still always opt over for a bow and a sword before I ever would grab a gun, so there's that. I don't like guns in video games usually, because I'm horrible at aiming, but also I feel like it's more of a challenge with a bow, so I would rather take the more challenging weapon than the typical everyone wants a gun thing, so definitely wouldn't want to see that, even though it's more modern. I still would want Link to have a sword and a bow. But, yeah. So, it's just like little tiny things, and there's just only 4 of them. But those are sort of things that I would like to sort of see in maybe future Zelda games and see like them try to touch on or try it as a challenge. My main thing is the whole reverse story. Like, Zelda's the hero. I'm just gonna say hero because I can't say the female version, obviously, tonight. That word is not coming out of my mouth. But, and then Link as the prince who will help in whatever way he can, but is still sort of trapped and stuff. Because Zelda's never, at least the games that I've played as growing up, Zelda's never been 100% not helpful. She still tries to do something. So, I definitely think Link should still try to do something if he was in that role. So, but he would still be sort of trapped and sort of being the one who needs help. Not necessarily saving, but help. So, that's the one that I would most like to see. Also, I just really would like a game where I get to play Zelda through, like, actually Zelda, through the challenges and stuff that Link has to go through in all the other games. Like, can I just once play as Zelda? Once? So, yeah. That's the main one. I'd like to hear your thoughts and opinions on my little ideas of things that I think would be cool to maybe see in future Zelda games. Of course, things that I'm sort of wanting, in my opinion, chances of them happening, not like super high unless a lot of people want them, and maybe Nintendo hears like so many people want it, and maybe they're like, well, maybe we should give us a try. But otherwise, but I would love to hear y'all's opinions on my ideas, particularly the modern one, just because that's such a far shot from a lot of Legend of Zelda. So I'd like to see if y'all think that maybe it could be an interesting turn, maybe it could be, or like y'all's inputs on how it should be done. Maybe like little ideas, and like maybe which specific modern like time era it should be sort of like. I definitely don't think it should be like actually nowadays. I feel like that would go way too far away from branching from how Zelda is. So like a nice in between where it's like getting modern, but it's not so modern that you completely lose a lot of the Zelda elements that is in most Zelda games. So, but yeah. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video, so please hit that lovely like button and subscribe to see more vlogs for me in the future and other games that I play, like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is amazing. I will have a link in the description below to the vlog playlist if you want to go watch some of the other ones, because I am starting to do more different vlogs where I talk about opinions and what I would like to see for games and like all these different things. So, and also wouldn't mind some more vlog ideas that I can maybe give me some ideas in the comments, and I can see about doing those for future vlogs as well. I will also have the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild playlist, since, you know, we're talking about Zelda. So you can go watch that if you haven't started watching already. I will say it's a long series, so it might take a while catching up on it if you haven't watched any of it. But yeah. And again, did I say it before? I don't know. I get so rambly on some of these outros that I forget what I say half the time, but don't forget to share the video if you think there's anyone out there that would enjoy the video and maybe has had similar ideas like this and maybe would like to communicate. I would love to talk. I love talking about Zelda. So like, if anyone else gives any other opinions or thoughts on the matter or expands on my opinions or whatever, I would love to read it. And I would love to talk about it. I love Zelda. So, don't forget to do that and get little notifications for me, so hit that little notification thing as well so you know when I do upload videos. I am going to a schedule now, so videos will definitely be more regular, and you should be able to expect usually when you're gonna get a certain video, except for when I do the random vlogs or random whatever, or the bonus videos. You don't know what those are gonna be. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.